Zarathik stood at the edge of the employment district on station Kepler 442, her two younglings clinging to her lower appendages. The Vrathan female had been to 17 interviews in 3 cycles, and each time the response was the same, a polite dismissal, sometimes accompanied by that particular tilt of the head that meant pity without commitment. We're looking for someone with more flexibility in their schedule. The position requires occasional off-station travel. We need someone who can work the night shift. Always the same, always no. Her savings from her previous job, before her mate had abandoned them for a mining opportunity in the outer reaches, were nearly depleted. The station's child care facilities charged more than she could afford, and without family nearby, she was trapped in an impossible situation. No one would hire a single mother with 2 younglings. Not the Vrathan employers who expected total devotion to work. Not the Kelteran businesses who saw childcare as a private problem. Not even the Pirellian cooperative, despite their reputation for compassion. She checked her datapad one more time. One final interview remained on her list. A human-owned shipping company called Second Chances Freight. The name alone made her mandibles click with bitter amusement. Second chances were a luxury in this sector of space. The office was smaller than the others she'd visited, tucked between a noodle bar and a repair shop. The door chimed as she entered, and a human male looked up from behind a cluttered desk. He was older than most humans she'd seen, with silver threading through his dark hair and wrinkles around his eyes that deepened when he smiled. "You must be Zarathik," he said, standing and extending his hand in that peculiar human greeting. "I'm Marcus Webb, please sit down. Your younglings are welcome too." She hesitated, then settled into the chair. The younglings immediately began exploring the office with the fearless curiosity of children everywhere, and she moved to restrain them. "It's fine," Marcus said, waving her concern away. "My own kids destroyed this office plenty of times when they were young. Nothing here they can hurt." The interview began conventionally enough. He asked about her experience. 5 years as a logistics coordinator specializing in hazardous materials transport. Her qualifications were solid, perhaps overqualified for a small operation like this. But then came the inevitable question. "I see you have 2 younglings. What are your child care arrangements?" Zarathik felt her hopes crumble once more. "I am still finalizing those details," she said, which was the politest way to say she had no solution. Marcus nodded slowly, then did something unexpected. He pulled out his own datapad and showed her a photograph. A younger version of himself with a human female and 3 small humans. "My wife died when our youngest was 2, he said quietly. "Cargo accident. Suddenly I was a single father with 3 kids and a business that demanded 60-hour weeks. You know what everyone told me? You need to choose your kids or your career. As if it was that simple. As if I could just stop feeding my children or abandon the business that fed them." Zarathik's antennae trembled. She understood that pain too well. "So I made a different choice," Marcus continued. "I rebuilt my business around my reality instead of pretending my reality didn't exist. My kids came to the office. They did homework in the break room. They learned to file manifests before they learned algebra. Was it perfect? No, but we survived and eventually we thrived." He leaned forward. "Here's what I'm offering you, Zarathik. A job as my logistics coordinator, which you're clearly qualified for. Fair pay, I'll send you the figures. But also, your younglings come with you. We set up a corner of the warehouse as a safe play area. When they're old enough, they help with age-appropriate tasks and learn the business. You work when they're occupied, and when they need you, you're there. We make it work together." Zarathik stared at him, afraid to believe. "Why? Why would you accommodate me when no one else will?" Marcus smiled, and it was sad and knowing all at once. "Because I learned something those other employers haven't figured out yet. When you give someone a real chance, not charity but genuine opportunity, they don't just work for you. They build with you. My best warehouse manager, single father of 4. My head of customer relations, raised 3 younglings while building her career here. They're loyal, hardworking, and creative problem solvers because they've had to be." He stood and extended his hand again. Humans have a saying, necessity is the mother of invention. People like us, we don't have the luxury of giving up. We find ways, and I've built my entire business on people who find ways. Zarathik took his hand, her grip trembling. "When do I start? How about now? Let's show you and your younglings around." As Marcus led them into the warehouse, Zarathik saw what she'd missed before: a Keltaran male working alongside a human female, both wearing infant carriers. A Pirellian at the dispatch desk had a sleeping youngling in a bassinet beside her workstation. The warehouse corner Marcus had mentioned was real: colorful mats, educational toys, and safety barriers. "Welcome to Second Chances," Marcus said. "We're not the biggest freight company on the station, but we might be the only one where your kids aren't a liability. They're an asset. They'll remind us why we're working so hard in the first place." That night, as Zarathik prepared a hot meal for the first time in weeks, a meal she could afford thanks to her first day's advance, her younglings chattered excitedly about their day at Mama's work. One had helped count cargo containers. The other had befriended a human child in the play area. She thought about Marcus's words about necessity and invention, about finding ways forward when every path seemed blocked. Perhaps that was the real human superpower. Not their technology or their strength, but their stubborn refusal to accept that circumstances should define destinies. Zarathik opened her datapad and began researching human philosophy. If she was going to work for one, she wanted to understand them better. The first quote she found made her mandibles click in what might have been laughter or recognition. "The human spirit is stronger than anything that can happen to it." She looked at her sleeping younglings and felt, for the first time in months, something dangerous and unfamiliar: hope.